So I want to say thank you to everyone for coming out tonight. And we're about to start our panel. But before we start the panel, I want to give some thank yous, of course. I would like to thank, of course, the leader of this great city, Mayor Rajay Baraka, the Newark Municipal Council. AMC Studios helped to put this thing together, so thank you to them. Bloomberg Associates, NJ Television and Motion Picture Commission, John Schreiber, NJ PAC, and the North to Shore Festival. This is the North to Shore Festival event, so thank them as well. And shout out to Andrea Mason for helping out tonight, and Corinthia. And before we start the panel, I wanted to bring up the executive director of the New Jersey Television and Film Commission, Mr. Steve Gorlick. He's going to say a few words before we start. So let's give him a round of applause, please.
Good evening, everyone, and I'm pleased to be here on it's a special night when we celebrate Newark's lofty place in film history. Although filmmaking here dates back to the silent era. And no less a director than Alfred Hitchcock once walked these streets filming a classic movie called Shadow of a Doubt. You may or may not know that the New Jersey Motion Picture and Television Commission, for which I work, has proudly called Newark our home for the last 45 years. Our office is located at 153 Halsey Street, and we've come to love many things about this city. The New Jersey PAC and Symphony Hall, the Newark Museum, the Newark Library, the Prudential Center, Military Park, Branch Brook Park, the Ironbound, and then for me particularly Hobby's Deli. Residents of Newark know that a lot, and I mean a lot, of filmmaking has taken place here. Our building alone, 153 Halsey Street, is a block-long building. On the Bank Street side, Robert De Niro was filming scenes for his upcoming movie Inappropriate Behavior last year. On the Washington Street side, Steven Spielberg was shooting scenes from West Side Story a couple of years ago, and on the Academy Street side, scenes from The Walking Dead were being filmed, and that's just our building. So many movies and television shows have been shot here, and I could spend about a half an hour listing them, but I won't do that. Let's just say that some of the all-time greats have been worked here and made movies here. Whitney Houston, Harrison Ford, Steven Spielberg, Samuel L. Jackson, Danny DeVito, Spike Lee, Denzel Washington, Tom Cruise, Halle Berry, Clint Eastwood, and many others. All of this is possible because of the cooperation and the support of Mayor Baraka and his administration, the council people, the police and fire departments, the city administrator, Eric Pennington, Desiree Hadley, and the Newark Office of Film and Television, and all of you. We've done some difficult things here. We created Gotham on Market Street for Warner Brothers' The Joker. We recreated the 1967 rebellion on Branford Place for the Many Saints of Newark. Closed down the Newark subway for 2 days for Christopher Nolan's The Dark Knight Rises, which also shot, by the way, in City Hall on every level and with IMAX cameras. Lots of challenging locations, and the city of Newark met the challenges every time. What does all this production mean for the city of Newark and the state? Last year alone, revenue from film and television production topped $700 million for the state. 95 features were made here in New Jersey just last year alone. 21 limited series and specials, 99 television series and specials, 14,620 jobs were created, and I can't help but think that maybe some of you out there have appeared as extras in one of these many productions, or served on as production assistants, or in some capacity. I'm pleased to tell you that Dr. Jennifer Turner, the head of Sony Pictures TriStar Television, lives right here in Newark. It's fast becoming a hub for entertainment in the industry, and the icing on the cake, of course, is Lionsgate Studios, which is now under construction. 6 large sound stages, office and shop spaces, a movie heaven, and just the shadow of Newark Airport. So it doesn't get more exciting than that. We happily celebrate this amazing success with you, and we look forward to more amazing things happening in Newark in the years to come.
All right, thank you, Steve. Let's give it up for Steve. If I'm correct, right, the state has made over 70 million last year, or 700 million. So the state of New Jersey has made over 700 million due to film in this state, which is great. So now we will begin our panel. Y'all ready? Y'all ready to talk to the production crew? I can't hear y'all. Y'all ready? Where the Walking Dead fans at? All right, there we go. Okay, let's get some excitement. Where's the zombie? Come over here, zombie. So, all right, coming up here to the director's chair first. The first panelist, I would like to call up Mr. Jason Gold. He is the Senior Vice President of Production for AMC Networks. And our zombie is joining. Next, our next panelist will be Miss Tracy Phillips Boone. She is the wardrobe supervisor for The Walking Dead Dead City, which is the show we will be watching tonight, or screening tonight. And our third and final panelist will be the location manager for the Walking Dead Summit, Mr. Matthew Kania. Did I say that right?
It's fun.
What's the proper pronunciation? Kania, Matthew Kania. Let's give it up for Mr. Matthew. All right, now we'll be moderating the panel, and if you do have questions, do not be shy. Come right up here, ask for the mic, state your question, state your name, whatever you want to say. Just please ask questions. All right. Thank you all for coming. So we only have 2 mics, so you have to like swap back and forth.
Oh, okay.
All right? We have to.
We just have to do it too.
Okay. All right. You want to say anything? All right, so my first question is for the Senior Vice President, Mr. Jason Gold. Jason, as the Senior Vice President of Production for AMC Networks, some of your responsibilities include working with producers to determine the location. So what attracted you here to New Jersey and to the city of Newark?
Hello. Oh, there it is. Hi. Well, I happen to live in New Jersey, so it was somewhat selfish. I wanted to make our next show somewhere that I could just kind of drive to, and not have to get on a plane, and so that was awesome. We had just done a bunch of Walking Dead shows in Georgia. It was very rural looking, so we wanted to bring it to the Northeast and give it more of an urban look. And we were talking about shooting in New York City, and the constraints of actually shooting in New York City. And then we started looking at New Jersey, per my urging, and we ended up meeting with Steve, who was just talking, and we got some location photos and looked around and just kind of came up with a great plan. And luckily, we were able to land with the help of the state at the Meadowlands facility, which is now a production facility.
Wow, that's amazing. So, and also because Newark is just a great city, right? You don't come here as well.
Absolutely.
That's why Newark is just the best city in the state, right?
Oh, yeah.
All right, so when beginning your career in production, what was your entry-level position before you became the Senior Vice President, the position you currently hold? What was your entry-level position?
I started at AMC in 2008 as a department coordinator. Okay. So sort of like an administrative position, and then I worked my way up over the last almost 15 years. And how did you work your way up? For folks who may want to know, who may want to enter into the production world, how did you? Sure. I mean, for me, it's very much a corporate job. Luckily, it straddles the line of corporate and the actual production. But it was really just a lot of hard work and trying to put pieces together and figuring out the best ways to make shows. As we grew as a company, and as we kept greenlighting more stuff. 2010, when we greenlit The Walking Dead, we kind of had to put together the infrastructure of a studio from scratch, and it's just sort of ballooned from there.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
right, so moving on to Tracy, Miss Tracy. So
Hi, guys.
How did you get into the work of becoming a wardrobe supervisor?
I actually started at NJ Pack.
Oh wow.
A friend of mine called me to help her do a Broadway play that was going on tour. And a producer saw me from Broadway and asked me, did I want a career? And that's how I started. But it actually started at NJ Pack.
All right. And take us through a typical day as a wardrobe supervisor on set of Dead City. What would that look like from beginning to end of a 12-hour day?
Okay. Starting out from the beginning. And first of all, I was the wardrobe supervisor, but let me say I couldn't have did it without my truck customer and now wardrobe supervisor, Alyssa Avellino. So she's here. So to start off the day, we get the costumes from the designer. Each actor has its own depending on what we're filming for the day. Now, we usually don't film chronologically. It's usually depending on locations. So we have to start off in the day getting each actor their costumes. We put it in their campers. They get dressed. The designer come and checks them to see if everything is legit. They'll come to the set. They'll do their acting, like if it's something with blood or aging, the designer will buy their clothes, but you can't put them on fresh clothes. So we have to take them down, we have to do the blood, we have to make it make sense. We have to make it fit the scene. So after that, after the actors are done, sometimes they have multiples, like if they have a scene and it's action, they have to go back to the beginning. We have to give them multiple costumes. So sometimes it's just not one costume. So after that, once they finish, they'll come back, they'll change, we'll take their clothes, we'll go back to the truck, we wash them, flip them if we have to, and the next day is a whole new ball game.
Wow, that's a lot of work. Thank you for sharing that. Okay, so I'm gonna move down the line here. Matthew,
I turned it off.
so you were the location manager for Summit, which is another Walking Dead spinoff, right?
Correct.
All right, so how did you, let's start from the beginning, how did you become a location manager and what attracted you to Newark?
Hello? I became a location manager. Actually, I started in New York as a permit clerk at their permitting office. So where they used to do permits, they used to use typewriters, actually. And from there, I decided that I wanted to get into the industry. And I started as a unit PA, which is pretty much at the bottom, the last line of the location department, sweeping up and cleaning up, setting up tables and chairs for the actors. And after several years, I moved up to location manager. I love shooting in Newark because, yes, it can work for New York or it could work for several different cities, but at the end of the day, you have modern architecture and historic architecture next to each other. The streets are great, and we've had a lot of flexibility working with you and the city of New York and the police, being able to get all the scenes done. We had some very successful days in Newark on Summit.
All right, thank you. And let me know, starting out as a unit PA, how patient did you have to be in order to kind of like, I guess, like climb that ladder? And how did you do that? Was it relationship building? Like what went into starting out as a unit PA and then moving your way up to locations?
You have to be very patient, but you spend so much time. I mean, 12-hour days, 14-hour days. Sometimes your phone's on a lot. You start to get to know the people that you work with a lot, and you start to build relationships. And my position is freelance, so I rely on those relationships. So when somebody needs a location manager, they remember me from a previous job or working with me years ago and having spent all those hours together on set. So it's all sort of, the film business becomes sort of like family. You know, you're with these people for very, very long hours, and you get to know them sometimes too well.
Right. And does anyone have any questions in the audience? Any questions? No one? All right. Question? Not yet? Okay. You can you just state your name and your question.
So my name is Amanda, last name Holmes. A big Walking Dead fan from the original show. Fear, we will not talk about. Let's just let that one go. Okay. So for Tracy, we were kind of sort of already asked this question, but I've watched the first 3 episodes, and they're climbing, they're falling, the characters are, and yet they always look good. Like their clothes are perfect, I mean, they're going across the city, zombies are falling on top of them, and yet they get up, the hair is like perfect, the clothes, not an ounce of dirt. So what's the story with that?
You're talking about continuity, and we do what we can. We put blood, sweat, and what you see, I don't know if comes out of editing. I don't know. Maybe things happen in editing that I'm not aware of, but we are up on our continuity.
Well, I can definitely. Location manager. So I realize now that you actually do it for another show, but I do have a question that maybe you can answer. The New York scenes seem to occur after dark, but how does that work? Are you guys filming like at 2, 3, 4 in the morning to avoid the crowd, or, what? How does that work? Because I know New Yorkers are not the friendliest people. So how are you making that work?
Night scenes are generally filmed at night. If we can cheat it with the overhang, we have a talented crew. Sometimes we're shooting in an area where light is only coming in from one side of a building, and they'll tent out the windows. But generally, if they're out on a street and they're outside and it's night, we're shooting overnight. If we're lucky, you're shooting in winter when night starts earlier, and then maybe you get to go home by 3 or 4. But if not, it's you're there till the sun comes up.
All right, thank you. Also, if there's an extra role on there, you need to walk by, zombie. I'm just putting it out there.
That's a good question though. If people wanted to audition, would your team be open to auditions in the community? Like how would that work?
Yeah, it would be through the casting directors on the show. We have local casting on the show, and you could find all that information on Cast It. I'm trying to think of where else they would post, because they would do open calls for certain things, like if we're looking for certain types of walkers, have certain body features or things like that. Our main casting directors for this show, I believe, are they're in New York, but we had local casting also here in Jersey that would find people.
So we should do a casting indoor, I think.
Yeah.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
I'm gonna call you on that.
Okay, yeah, absolutely.
Are there any other questions? Anyone else in the audience has questions?
Hi, everybody. Welcome. I'm being nosy. What did you do for NJPAC? Yes.
The producers tour. The producers was going on tour. It was a Broadway show, and I helped out there.
Okay, thank
That's
you.
what I was doing.
And I would like to know exactly what thought goes into the location that you're looking for. Are you looking for a certain demographic? Are you looking for a certain type of architecture? Are you looking for something that looks historic? What exactly do you look for when you're looking for a particular place to film your production?
Well, it comes down to the script. They write the script, and then it's handed to the designer, directors, producers, myself, and then we break it down, and you sort of, as she said, we don't shoot in chronological order. Everything that you see in the shows is generally done completely out of order, and they have to assemble it afterwards. So they have to build a schedule that makes sense so we can get the right amount of work done every single day. Sometimes that decides where the locations are going to be, but there's always some key anchor locations that it has to look this way. For this show, they needed it to look very urban, so, and we needed very, very large infrastructure. For the show that I worked on, it was very specific at times what they were looking for. And we have a very talented art department that sort of comes up with concept art. They show it to the director, and then they start saying, well, what's out there? And we send scouts out. If a scout ever comes and knocks on your home or business, let them in, let them take pictures. There's no obligation, it doesn't hurt, but that's generally what happens. It's still a door-to-door business. They knock on doors, and if it's a street, we go out, we scout a bunch of streets, show them, and then if we can get good control, then we start scouting.
And I have one more question for the costume, for you. When you said, when you talked about the costumes, are you saying that you will buy, say for example, an actor is wearing a pair of jeans and a white shirt, so you will purchase multiple jeans and multiple white shirts so that it can be new in the beginning and then bloody towards the end?
Yes, and a designer is the one who shops for the clothes and all that. The wardrobe supervisor takes those clothes and put them to the scene. So we will be the one talking to the designer saying, we need 5 multiples, we need 6 multiples. So we know to give the director a chance to be able to shoot a couple of times instead of just doing one take on it.
And I met your makeup person. She's fabulous. She's great.
For
Mickey. For the show.
For Dead
so
City?
Mickey, she's doing makeup tonight, but she didn't work
Oh,
on the set.
Mickey. Oh, okay. Yes, I met Mickey.
Yeah, she's
That's
a
why I was
SF
like, Mickey?
Yes. She did the makeup for the zombie here tonight, the live
Yes.
makeup demo. So Tracy, I have another question for you. So how common is it for you to shop locally from local stores when you're looking for?
That's designer usually shops. The
Okay.
designer shops for the clothes that you see on camera. Wardrobe supervisor is responsible for comfort, like if they need a warmy coat, underwear, anything that's not seen on the camera.
Okay. All right. Are there any other questions from the audience members? Come over here. Come up. Don't be shy. Come over get closer.
How y'all doing? My name is Don. I have 2 questions for you. The first question is,
For who?
what advice would you give an amateur who's trying to shoot movies right now?
Who was that?
I mean, there's nothing really to say other than go out and do it. You know, if you can, if you have some friends and a camera, and you want to go out and make a movie, then go make a movie, man. You know, build your reel. You know, make as much as you can, and just every time you do it, you'll get better.
Thank you. My second question is kind of similar to the first one, but this is more towards do you have any advice for the younger generation who's trying to break into the film industry? Because that's pretty, it's a kind of a hard industry to really break into, like in terms of even trying to be a PA. So what advice do you have for younger people who are trying to get into the industry?
I think specifically in New Jersey, there's some great programs. I don't know, maybe Steve could talk about some of those later, but you can look also on the Film and Entertainment website. We also use a program called Staff Me Up that helps us staff locally, for everybody from PAs up to sub-department heads. And we try to lean into that so we're not always just hiring the same people over and over again. And it's a way for us to find, especially locally when we go to somewhere we haven't shot before, like this is the first time we filmed in New Jersey, to start to crew up. So check that out, and also look at some of the PA programs that are does the city have some programs as well?
So I can add to that answer as well. So there is a workshop happening next week at Express Newark, right across the street, and it's for folks looking to get into the film and TV industry. So we're gonna I can give you a flyer. Pass out flyers today as well. So if you're interested in entering into the film and TV industry as you are, there's an event happening on July 11th, and you're welcome to come. It's free and open to the public.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions from the audience?
Hi, I'm glad you guys are here. This is really nice that you guys have come to Newark. You know, some representation is beautiful. I wanted to ask probably the location manager, probably be the best person to ask this question, but can you reveal the specific locations in Newark in which you guys filmed?
I'll go, if you don't mind, Matt, I'll jump in. So we actually, this episode that you're going to see tonight, we shot in I think it was that building on Broad Street over there. 744 Broad, that's right. And we've shot all around the streets, the street level. We shot on Clinton Street, on Broad Street quite a bit. We've shot all over town. I think there's actually an article somewhere and I want to say it's like New Jersey Monthly or something that lists some of the locations that we've shot in, specifically in Newark, and then all over the state. I mean, this show we shot this season. It was 6 episodes. We shot about 65 days, all in the state of New Jersey, with the exception of 3 days we shot in New York. But everything else was in New Jersey, and quite a bit of it, especially the stuff that's on the street, that's cheating for Manhattan, was shot right here, like literally in this area.
And I think there were a few subway scenes as well, right?
Yeah, we shot. There's a trolley tunnel. Is that what that is? It's a
Light
trolley.
rail.
Yeah,
There was a old trolley that ran underneath a section of Newark that would bring customers from one department store to another, and it's currently not in use right now. So they, for some of the scenes that occur underground, they film them there.
So I guess this goes for anyone that can answer. How was it working with like Jeffrey Dean Morgan and with the actors like directly?
Jeffrey D. Morgan's amazing. Lauren Curran, all of them amazing. But Jeffrey is awesome. He's
Is he like
hilarious.
warm? Is he like really? Is he like really warm and really like kind of?
I wouldn't say warm. He's nice. He's just funny. He's that guy. I can go on and on. He's brilliant. Everything you're thinking, he's awesome.
And what are his thoughts about working in Newark? Did he have good things to say?
Oh, I don't know his thoughts.
Oh, he did.
But he treated us well, and he did well with the first episode, right? First and second. So that's all I know.
Favorite character? I cosplay him at Comic-Con. Thank you very much.
Can I have just one last? So, how do you do like selections for extras, like for walkers or for like background characters? Like, how does that go down?
It's handled by a casting department. So we hire a team to specifically do that, and they handle it. I honestly don't know the details of how it happens.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Are there any other questions from the audience? Anyone else? Okay, so we can move along. So I guess this can go for all three of you. Can you share one piece of advice that you can give to folks who, obviously there's some people out there who are aspiring to get into the production industry. Can you share a piece of advice that you would give, something that you perhaps learned that helped to move your career along?
Jason's advice was pretty spot on. Just go out and do it, whether you want to actually make the content yourself or if you want to work on set or in one of the stages. There's a lot of resources out there, and just find your way in. There's a lot of filming, obviously once the strike is over. But they're always looking for people because the crews are roughly 100 people plus for every single one of these shows that comes into town.
I would say social media, Instagram, that I'm not great with, but I would go to the social media and there's a lot of stuff being posted and you can find out a lot of information.
Yeah, and look into lean into the programs that are provided by the state and cities locally. You guys have some great stuff.
Absolutely, and like I said, I'll be passing out some flyers for folks if you want to attend the workshop which will focus on job placement and finding employment within the industry and figuring out how to do that. So there is a workshop coming up July 11th. Y'all will get those flyers today. And all right, so are there any other folks in the audience who may have questions for the panelists up here? You can come right up.
So it's more so about the show, not the making of the show. A lot of the shows, Walking Dead, Fear the Walking Dead, everyone fled the city, right? So everyone's going to the countryside. So how is the dynamics of like how the tribes and the groups are made in the city created and different from Fear and Walking Dead?
Well, I don't want to spoil it too much, but that's exactly what this show explores. Dead City, you know, is to get out of the rural environments that we've been in the other shows and really get into not just any city, but into the biggest city, into the biggest urban center in the U.S. and answer that question exactly.
Not gonna give me nothing.
Well, you'll see. You can watch this episode. It's gonna be great.
Thank you. Any other questions?
So what made you inspire for The Walking Dead? Like, what made you do The Walking Dead? Make the movie.
What made me take it was Jersey.
I was handed a script in 2010 and told to make it into a TV show. But I'm very happy that we did.
Are you a huge big fan of like, I guess, zombies and gore and horror movies? Was that your inspiration?
Me personally, no. I'm more of a sci-fi fan.
Sci-fi.
Yeah.
I was a really big fan of horror movies when I was younger, but ultimately I worked on The Walking Dead because it was in Jersey.
All right, any other audience questions? Going once, going twice. All righty. All right, so that pretty much ends the panel. Unless there's anything else you guys wanted to share. Thank you. All right.
Just want to thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Desiree, and thank you to the City of Newark for being awesome hosts to both shows that we've produced here. Hopefully, they'll keep going, and we can make more shows here in New Jersey. It would be great.
Absolutely. Okay, so I have a question from someone who's over there. They said if someone is interested in script writing or doing something with scripts, what do you recommend? What should they do? How should they go about entering into script writing?
Assume that's for me. Happily, I'm a production executive, and I do not do that. So we have an entire development team that deals with the sort of script side of things and developing stories and all that. My job is to focus on the physical production of the shows and putting the pieces together. So I don't have good advice for that one.
Okay. So would you recommend? You don't have the best advice for that, but would relationship building be a part of the starting point?
Yeah, of course. You know, I would say relationship building, honing your craft by taking courses or working with like writers' workshops and groups and things like that. They do like pitch fest type things. I don't know if they've had any of those recently in New Jersey, but they have things sometimes where creative executives will come in and anybody can kind of come and just start pitching ideas.
Okay. And that's normally in New York, New Jersey?
I'm not sure.
All right. Thank you for sharing. Are there any other questions from the audience?
I have a question about the character, Rick. I just wanted to know, was he going to be on the show this season? Is he going to be on the show this season?
He's actually going to be in a different show, which is the one that Matt just worked on. So this show that you guys are watching, Dead City, we shot 6 episodes of last year in the summer and fall. And then right when we stopped filming it, we sort of wrapped it up and then immediately started prepping and then filming this year another show, which we just wrapped, 6 episodes, which is the Rick and Michonne story.
Okay, that's good.
Which was also shot right here in New Jersey. Quite a bit in Essex County.
Okay.
You may have seen Rick walking around places.
Yeah, he's like my favorite actor. And I wanted to know, how can I be a part of The Walking Dead? Like if I wanted to join in to be an actor?
Well, again, it's like it's casting, open casting calls and things like that. You would probably have to look online to see, what sort of local things are. There's nothing right now because we're not filming. But once we start to gear up for, hopefully, there'll be another season, they'll start to look for local extras and stuff again.
You do a short casting, though. I think that's what I'm
Yeah, everyone loves The Walking Dead. Yeah, it should be.
I'll give you I'll connect you to the casting people, absolutely.
So we can definitely explore doing like a Nord casting, an open casting. You have something?
Hi. Some of my students. Hi, my name is Gregory. I'm a teaching artist, actor here in the city. I think I heard you say that you don't shoot in sequence for the show. So like for continuity for the actors, how much information do they know prior to filming or rehearsal for like story and the character development?
They'll have the script before they start shooting the episode, and then they'll have a schedule before we start shooting the episode, and they'll know which scenes we're shooting on any day. Let's say it's a 10-day episode. They'll have a schedule laid out in front of them, and it's not just for the actors, it's for the crew as well to know what things to prepare, for you guys to know which costumes to get, which locations to start zeroing in on, and which days they'll be needed. And then the night before, you'll get the call sheet for the next day that'll have the specific scenes and stuff, and they'll have we always have the director will be working with the actors to work on lines if they need to. Same with the writers, and the showrunners will be available to the actors, and they all kind of work together to make sure that everything is set for each individual day, and then they lean on each other to get the pieces done for the day.
Gotcha, thank you.
All right. Any other audience questions?
Good evening, everyone. So just a quick question. What would you say was the best advice that you got along your career that just stuck with you, that you'll always remember, that you can embark on us, that we can use?
Don't be late.
That's what I was going to say.
Showing up, the hours are long.
Be on
And
time.
sometimes we start, you probably sometimes start even earlier than I do. Sometimes we're starting at 4 or 5 in the morning. Sometimes we're going to all hours. That's part of production, is just long hours.
That's right.
There's a very, very small amount of shows that do it with just 8 to 10 hours. We show up before they start shooting, and when they're done shooting, people still have to put everything away. So timing is
Everything.
50% of it, if not everything. Yeah.
I agree, because we have different departments, and everyone relies on everyone. So if it's departments start out early, if they're late, it's going to have a trickle effect. So you have to be on time.
I would say the most relevant advice I was given was probably, no matter how hard you try, you can never fully explain what it is that you do when you work in the entertainment business, and I've been trying for many years now, and I still can't. Do you guys find that? Yeah, okay.
All right. Are there any other questions from the audience? Anyone else? You have a... I think she's ready to audition for the show.
I was wondering, where do you actually perform?
Are you excited to watch the show? Are you a fan? We can tell. Look at the makeup. You have any other questions for the panel? Okay, thank you. Are there any other questions from the audience? I wanted to ask one more question. So, as we all know, the film and TV industry brings millions of dollars into the state. When you're filming, it brings money into the local economy. Can you talk a little bit about what that impact looks like locally? And when you're a typical production, when they film, I don't know, for let's say 2 to 4 weeks in the location, how much money is spent there locally?
Well, I can tell you on this show, our in-state spend was somewhere in the neighborhood of $65 million. So that's just the money that we spent, that qualified within the state of New Jersey. As far as what was spent, locally in each place, it really depends on, what the locations are. As Matt was saying, if a locations scout knocks on your door and wants to take pictures, do it because they will pay you if somebody actually shoots there. I've seen the short-term stuff where people kind of come in and they shoot and they drop some money and they leave. And then there's also the long-term where actors will relocate and businesses will start. We saw it in Georgia when we started doing the first Walking Dead in a small town called Sonoya. And the amount of money and time that we spent there over 10 years saw a significant economic impact. In fact, we have an entire study that was done on it. And just the entire town sort of blossomed, which is really cool to see. And I also saw it when we did Breaking Bad in Albuquerque. All of a sudden there's tourists coming in. People want to go on the Breaking Bad tour, and there's, sometimes the actors will buy houses or open a business or a restaurant. And then the hotels and the local restaurants and bars and everything with the crew coming in. So there's just a lot of sort of economic stimulus that happens with the entertainment industry.
Thank you for that. Is there anyone else who wanted to add on to that?
Hello? When we shoot, we have to pay for city services. There's permits, officers, fire department watches, depending on what we're doing if we're inside. That's not even included. Equipment rentals. Crew members are obviously getting their paychecks taxed. It's lots, it's just a big bonus for everything. Yeah, and I mean, ultimately, this is a great industry. It's one of the products that gets sent all over the world. So it's made in America.
Yeah, and
made in New Jersey.
And I think the nice thing about it a lot of times is sort of direct cash in hand, right? Like that, put it in locations, and you see it directly in everything from hotels to car services to catering. Right, that's a big one.
All right, thank you so much for sharing that. Are there any other questions from the audience? We're going to wrap up the panel soon. All right, thank you all. Thank you, Tracy. Thank you, Jason. And thank you, Matthew. Thank you all for coming to Newark, being on the panel, filming here. And we're going to also, Jason and I will talk about this casting for Newark residents coming up for the next show, right?
Yeah, absolutely.